Hi guys, it's Reagan and welcome to the start of another reading vlog. And it's currently Tuesday, like early pre-lunch. What am I even saying? It's pre-lunch on a Tuesday. And the goal of this vlog is to just be like a cozy, relaxing, very solid like reading week for me vlog. My TBR is full of like atmospheric, beautiful, I'm also hoping angsty reads that I really feel like I'm going to love. So without further ado, let's go ahead and chat about the books I hope to read this week. So the first book on the list I'm actually almost done with, and that is The Daughter of Dr. Moreau. I read all of this book in basically a 24-hour period. I have flown through this story. I'll talk more about it later, but it's basically a retelling of the Isle of Dr. Moreau, but set in the Yucatan Peninsula, and it has the atmosphere to say the least. And then from there, I want to read The Wolf and the Woodsman by Ava Reid. This is another kind of like lyrical folklore leaning story inspired specifically from Hungarian history and Jewish mythology. The setup of it sounds so good. It's also kind of a quest / survival story, so I have really high expectations for this. And then lastly, I want to at least start The Death of Jane Lawrence. This is a gothic tale about a marriage of convenience turning into possibly a horror house situation. All of these books I feel like are so great for this season. Lots of atmosphere. Two of them are kind of like gothic stories as well, which I'm always a sucker for. So these are the three books that are on my TBR for this video. As I've already mentioned, I literally only have 50 pages left of The Isle of Dr. Moreau, or The Daughter of Dr. Moreau, and Silvia Moreno Garcia just knows how to entertain me like no other author. I feel like I always fly through her books. That being said though, I hope to finish it this afternoon, but obviously I have a slew of work that needs to be done. I'm also gonna start lunch right now, at least start the process anyway, but yes, I'm so excited about all the books on my TBR. Making a little end of summer salad for lunch. I'm just sauteing some corn and some bell peppers. I'm boiling some eggs, and then for my dressing I just made like a honey Dijon dressing, and I have feta, and then bringing you all over the place, I also have some toasted almonds to put on top. Should be really tasty. And a bon appetit, everyone. Hi friends, I wanted to pop in and do a reading update for The Daughter of Dr. Moreau, which I'm so close to finishing. I have now 25 pages left because I've read 25 pages between lunch and now. This is Silvia Moreno Garcia's newest release, and it's basically the Isle of Dr. Moreau retelling, but set in the Yucatan Peninsula. And this is essentially a multi-POV book. Actually, it's a dual perspective book. The first main character we follow is Carletta, and she is the daughter of Dr. Moreau. She's grown up in isolation and truthfully in a lot of ignorance on this island with her father and all of the hybrids that he has created. She's beautiful, she's charming, she's smart, but she's also very, very naive. The other main character we follow is Montgomery, who has a very kind of dark past. He often seeks solace in alcohol. He accepts a job on this island with Dr. Moreau, and he's been working there for about 6-7 years at the start of this story. Everything is turned upside down when a son of like the benefactor of this island arrives, and he begins courting our main character Carletta. But this is a story kind of told in 3 acts. First off, incredibly vibey. This is definitely like pulling in those like gothic aesthetics. Like it is summery and hot and full of like oppressive heat, you know what I mean? But at the same time, it's like a gothic version of that. Like it doesn't need to be cold and rainy to be like a little eerie and unsettling, and that is definitely what's going on. Obviously this book kind of has a sci-fi element and twist as Dr. Moreau is creating all these hybrids, these chimeras, these creatures which are part human, part animal. They are considered monsters, and obviously elements of like their own humanity, their own desires is definitely explored within this book. This story, again, primarily follows Carletta and Montgomery, and you experience the story alternating between their 2 different points of views. Sometimes you even get the same scene told to us twice, just through their own personal viewpoints, which I think is pretty interesting. They contrast each other pretty significantly too, as Carletta is a little more cheerful. She is a main character to root for, definitely as you kind of see her arc, which is kind of confronting the ugly reality that is kind of her father and the house that she's been living in her whole life. But she's still like a peaceful, positive force. And in contrast, Montgomery's chapters are so angsty. The man is haunted by his past, by his ex-wife, by his choices in the present day. And I think their styles contrast in a nice way. There's also a lot of really great tension and pacing present in this story, and the true like gothic vibe. Like, for example, when you're reading Jane Eyre, like, you know, Mr. Rochester is told to us over and over again that he's really no good, and yet the romantic tension and pacing is like fascinating, and that definitely exists in part in this book. Like, I don't even really know who I'm supposed to be rooting for romantically, or if that's even the point, but there is some tension, let's just say, and it was delicious to read. The ambiance and everything about this book and setting and just the concept really shines. Silvia Moreno Garcia's writing is really incredible, and it exists quite well in this too. I would say characters might not be my total favorite aspect, and there's elements of the plot that could be more developed, but I am almost done with this book, and I still don't exactly know how everything is going to like end up, and I'm very curious by it. I read this book in basically 24 hours, so the pacing was definitely there, and I was obviously very hooked. So I wouldn't say like any part of this book dragged. I just wouldn't say like perhaps these are my favorite characters I've read by Silvia Moreno Garcia and everything was as fleshed out as I wanted it to be. But I'm kind of nitpicking here because I still really enjoyed this overall experience, and I'm gonna finish it right now. But those are generally like my thoughts and feelings. I loved the set. I just like this gothic vibe, but it's also like hot, and we're in nature, and we're like in the jungle, and it's such an interesting mix, and it worked so well. I just love this author. I just love this author so much. We have a backyard development, folks. We got a grill for Clay's 30th birthday. I've already been grilling and cooking this corn, and now I'm just cooking off some zucchini and burgers for dinner tonight. All be good. Burgers looking good. Some veggies to top, grilled corn, grilled zucchini. Living the dream. Hi friends, apologies for the lack of check-in. Matilda and I have just been vibing. I finished, first off, The Daughter of Dr. Moreau, which is great. I downloaded a new Switch game, which is Disney Dreamlight Valley, which so far, fun. And I started a new season of Married at First Sight, which we love. And I also have my second book of this reading vlog all queued up. And to make matters even better, I think I'm going to make some cookies. So 10 out of 10 evenings so far. No, Miss Matilda, I just played like 2 hours of Disney Dreamlight, but now it's time to start my second book, which is The Wolf and the Woodsman, which I'm really thinking I'm gonna love. So I can't wait. Trying to get a second breakfast. And she's off. But good morning, everyone. I'm up making some coffee. I actually have some early plans as I'm getting breakfast with a friend. And we're going on a little bit of a library adventure. But first we need caffeine. And I'm back. I forgot to take any type of horizontal footage while I was at the library, but I have a lot of good vertical footage, which I'll put here. It was great. We actually went to the main branch in Austin, which is such a beautiful building, but there's a bunch of branches around the city. But it was fun to get my library card from there. I got a book. I got this bag to put my books in. And then the book I picked up, I've just been getting a lot of comments about, and it's been on my list. And so I grabbed Age of Myth by Michael J. Sullivan, which I'm really excited about. And then if I love it, I was already planning on buying this book, but I wanted a library book because I was at the library, so we did it. I love the flippin' library. So anyway, there we go. Cheers. I am back home. I'm gonna get down to getting to work now, but it was such a nice morning, getting a library card, getting a little breakfast and a coffee, hanging out with my friend Lucy. It was a delight. Hello everyone. My hair is Ignore my hair. So I'm actually sitting down to do some reading, but I wanted to talk about the 40 pages I've read so far, because so far this book is delivering exactly what I wanted from it vibe-wise. It's honestly gruesome, if I'm being totally upfront. I also have a seasonally appropriate latte, which we love to pair with an afternoon reading session. But as I said, this book is inspired by Hungarian history and Jewish folklore and mythology, but it's very, very fantasy oriented. The story follows our main character, Eveke, and she lives in a village surrounded by like a magical forest in this fantasy land where she is from. Basically, outsiders have come in, not only taken over the government like many generations ago, but they've also brought in a new religion that is spread across the land. So Eveke, her people, and a lot of other people that live in the forest are magic users for one, but also considered pagans. And there's also like a ritual that requires each village or a village to give up one of the magic users, one of the women magic users, to the king. Our main character, Eveke, does not have any magical abilities, which has actually made her a bit of an outcast in her own village. At the beginning of this book, she's kind of sacrificed by the village to these individuals called the Woodsman, who are kind of like religious knights for the king, and their job is to basically transport Eveke or anyone who's sacrificed to the king for kind of an unknown reason. Right now, I'm just in the beginning of this journey. I'm pretty sure the whole book actually takes place in the forest. What I can say so far is I really like the writing style. It's exactly what I was hoping for, just based on the synopsis. It's very lyrical and beautiful, just full of a lot of atmosphere. The book is gruesome, and I think this story is actually going to be rather dark. Just the lengths that the author has gone to describe certain situations, it's brutal. But it also just works really well. I'm not very far in, but already I just feel like I'm really captured by the story, and I'm gonna sit down and read more, but it's definitely tracking to be a story I'm gonna really enjoy. I'm hoping I love it, and I definitely feel like this is a great fall read as well. Just the ambiance, it's high up there. It's high up there. The Wolf and the Woodsman is so good. It's 100% like delivering what I wanted. It's definitely also giving like mortal enemies forced to go on a quest with each other for like survival. Because we obviously follow our main character Eveke, and due to some unforeseen circumstances, only one Woodsman survives her like transport party, and they kind of have to go on a quest together for a variety of reasons. They are different in a variety of situations, but most predominantly it's largely, there's like lots of conversations about religion and politics, and it's truly too good. So yeah, 100 pages in, really liking it. There's also a lot of like storytelling and mythos involved, obviously because both of them are kind of not familiar with the other's religion, so they're often like referencing important stories and things like that. It's just really liking it. So, but anyway, I'm about to go into my relaxing part of the evening. Not that reading wasn't relaxing, but you get the point. So I'm gonna watch more of my 90 Day Fiancé season. Clay is going to a sporting event tonight, so I have ditched my more complicated dinner plan, and I'm just gonna air fry a bunch of stuff and make ramen and call it dinner, you know? You know. The aperitif is being heated up. We've got some panko shrimp and some spring rolls, and then I'll make ramen later. A bunch of gourmets in this household, Millie. I made ramen. And I started the Paris Hilton documentary. So, shaping out to be a good night. Sometimes life is about making yourself the ultimate cookie sundae, and that's just how it goes. Paris Hilton documentary detour is over. That documentary is actually pretty interesting. I've been really into like reevaluating my perspective on the early 2000s, because obviously when I consumed it, I was a child. So looking at it through a different lens has been really enlightening. The documentary is on YouTube, but now I'm back in bed. I'm getting ready for bed with Minnie. And I'm gonna read more of The Wolf and the Woodsman, which I'm really, really liking. I've spooked myself out a bit. You know, you ever do that? You're home and everything's vibing, and then all of a sudden It's spooky, and now I'm gonna read like a really atmospheric, not like necessarily spooky book, but it's kind of dark, and I'm just kind of like, I don't know. This is why I don't watch scary stuff, because I'm such a wimp. Anyway, gonna read more now. You can kind of tell through these socks, but you know, no free foot pics. But your girl went to the podiatrist this morning and she is all taped up. I'm feeling like a new woman. Now, before I do work, I'm gonna sit, do more reading, and I've passed the 100-page mark of The Wolf and the Woodsman, and the tension this definitely has. This book is definitely like hate to love vibes, so it's very, very, very interesting. And it's also quest. I mean, what more could I possibly want? So I'm gonna sit down and read now, enjoy my taped up feet, and that's that. Hi friends, so I'm happy to report I'm officially 50% of the way through this book. I've just passed the 200-page mark, and this book reads so quickly. It's so unbelievably entertaining. As I kind of hinted in the last clip, this is definitely like an enemies to lovers sort of scenario. Specifically, our two main characters, Efeke and the sort of woodsman guard that she's left with. It's like very character focused. It's about the development of their relationship. It's about two people from entirely different worlds raised to hate each other, like forced out of necessity and survival to have to work with someone, and then inevitably get to know them and perhaps see some of the flaws in their understanding of the other person. Also, specifically, this is definitely a story and definitely centering two characters that were not treated very nicely from either group of people that they're from. So it's kind of like, do I hold on to this hatred on behalf of the people that never treated me well for this person who is starting to see and respect me for who I am? Like, that's definitely part of this story. And the push and pull of that, the will they, won't they, the romantic tension is good. And I just read a very good scene that utilizes one of my favorite tropes, and it was just like explosive and spicy, and just like, on top of that, the writing is really engaging. Like, it's really beautifully written, and I love this setting of like monsters and forests and quests, and religion and philosophy are like so central in this. And I just love watching our main characters like spar back and forth, share stories from their own religion and culture that they were raised in, and you can kind of see them try to understand and also like prod perhaps some of the hypocrisy that might live in either story, or even like everything has its own interpretation. So like how you're going to take those stories and then utilize that in your own life, like it's all there. Plot-wise, things are really starting to heat up. Basically, like in the background of everything that's going on, there is a kingdom, a powerful king who is obviously not great, but there's also a succession crisis, and the younger son is like very beloved by the people, and he rallies them using very extreme views of religion and othering basically everyone else living in the land as the cause of any issue that's occurring, from, you know, bad crops or not enough money going around, like higher prices, like bad weather. All of these things are because of other people, and that sort of hatred is at an all-time high, and like that's also intrinsically part of this book and happening in the background. But where I'm at right now, like the politics are starting to kind of come back center stage. Like, it's not just these two characters, but like other outside forces are beginning to become important too. But the first part of this book was definitely a journey story. It was really entertaining, very engrossing. So far, like full of things that I personally just really enjoy, and more romance forward than I was expecting. And it's very addicting and fun. I love an enemies to lovers situation. I just think the tension is always superb, and because this is a standalone, like I think the pacing will really work itself out. So I'm gonna read more of this later. I'm gonna take a break though, make lunch, and do some other things I need to do. But just wanted to give you an update as I've hit 50 pages. Oh no, I've hit 200 pages. I've hit 50%, which also means I've read 250 pages so far for this vlog. And lunch is served, so bon appetit. Look how colorful all of this is. But tonight we're doing like Greek chicken skewers. So I'm gonna chop everything up, get them on skewers, have them marinate for a bit, and then we're out on the grill. Isn't this just beautiful? It's a literal rainbow. Well, don't these look pretty? These have been marinating now for about 45 minutes, so it is grill time. I'm also gonna make some couscous. Should be delicious. All right, the kebabs are done, and truthfully, they look amazing. I even grilled the lemons for a little drizzle. Smells good. I also made some couscous, which I need to like season and stuff. And then I have a tzatziki sauce, and I also have hummus. Here's my reflection. Time to eat. Real Housewives of OC. I finally got to season 10. So, hello. Gonna play some Disney Dreamlight Valley. Hey friends, I'm sitting down now to actually read more, but I'm not sure if I ever updated you guys. I did read another 50 pages of this book. So, you know, only about 150 pages of this left. So definitely on track to finish tomorrow and being able to start my third book of this vlog. But the story has really drawn me in. I'm now like questioning if this is going to be a standalone or not. The second half, I feel like the first half was definitely traditional quest structure, which I loved. Second half is more of like a traditional political intrigue, complicated, faction-based fantasy story. And our main character is very headstrong, which I kind of can respect. Because I feel like she's not overthinking anything because she's just jumping in head first kind of vibes. The tension between our two main characters is there, and also why it's so successful is because like all of the animosity and distrust, kind of overcoming a lot of the stigma they have against each other is like its own battle in itself. But anyway, I'm gonna sit down now and read. I'm pretty hooked, so that's a great sign. Good morning, friends. Up and at 'em this morning. I am gonna finish my book, start the third book, and give y'all a final wrap up. Was about to break for lunch, but I wanted to do a reading update of The Wolf and the Woodsman. I only have 50 pages left of this book. Okay, so I have some differing thoughts. So it stands that I flew through this book, and I would say there's a stark like first part, second part. There is quite a change in the setting about halfway through. And the thing is with this book is I still really enjoy all of the pieces. And in part two, I do feel like there's a lot of interesting things the author is touching on. Particularly, we're looking at a lot of different like religious theology and a lot of hypocrisy, as well as religious persecution, and just a lot of things excused for the sake of religion, and how powerful people kind of keep the populace separated and angry at each other versus angry at them. I think all of these things are really present in this, but I would also say I don't know if they're given like enough space to feel fully developed, especially the political aspect of our main character Aveke kind of in the castle, and everything felt really truncated and just not like elaborated enough. In my mind, I almost feel like this could have been two books. Like the first book was The Journey, and then the second book was The Kingdom, and then we really could have given just a lot more time and space to develop the emotional intensity that all of these, you know, themes and scenes have to just like another level, you know? And that I think would be like my biggest piece of criticism. And just some of these are like, I just think they need a little more development because they are such serious and like very well thought out topics. I just feel like all of them felt a little rushed. I have 50 pages left. I am still liking this book. This is the author's debut novel too, so I feel like future books, like it could really land because her writing style and her characters are great and her concepts are great. I just feel like some of the pacing in the midst of this is like a little off for me. But anyway, 50 pages left, and then I'm going to jump into the death of Jane Lawrence, which I'm looking forward to as well. But I've read 400 pages so far for this vlog, which I am pleased with. Hi friends, good morning. You're probably asking yourself, Reagan, outfit change. Yes, it is actually a couple days later from the last time I filmed a update for this vlog. And that is because my memory card literally snapped in half. I thought I lost all this footage. I thought this vlog was gone. But after performing some surgery on said memory card with Rylakukuma washi tape, I was able to retrieve all the footage. So we are finishing up the vlog. It is 2 days later since we've last chatted, so I do have some updates for you guys. Namely, I have finished The Wolf and the Woodsman, which I wouldn't say my feelings on that book have changed significantly. I still feel like the first half was stronger than the second half. I enjoyed the romantic tension and the will they won't they of our two main characters, the setting and the concept. It just didn't fully come together in the way that I hoped, if that makes sense. I just felt like it could have been a bit better. That being said, this was the author's debut novel. I loved the writing style, so I'll be checking out other books by her for sure in the future. But now let's talk about the current stuff. Most notably, Matilda, who is just Laxin, which we love to see. But the update is we have moved on to book 3 of this vlog, which is The Death of Jane Lawrence, which is definitely like a gothic horror novel about a woman who decides that she wants to have a marriage of convenience, finds the perfect candidate, a handsome doctor. He agrees. The only stipulation is she must never visit his family manor. But of course she does, and it's creepy and weird, and it seems like he has a lot of secrets and he gaslights her. It's the classic Jane Eyre 1-2 punch, you know? But I'm looking forward to reading this. I feel like it could have great fall vibes. It's also not too long, so I'm hoping I can speed through a chunk of it today with Miss Matilda. And that is the current status of this vlog. I have been an absolute sloth today watching TV, but I've also been sitting and reading. So let's give you guys an update. Hi. So I am 75 pages into The Death of Jane Lawrence, which also means I have passed the 500 page mark for this vlog, which I am pretty jazzed about. So this book, I feel like I'm immediately of two minds. So as I said, this is like a gothic, horror, historical, romance story. It has what I imagine connections to the occult. There's a lot going on, and from an atmosphere point of view, I think it's great. I also feel like it's gonna be like a haunted house. So I think in concept, all of those things can really, really work together. Immediately in this book, we're introduced to our main character, Jane, who is presented to us as this very logical woman. She's learned, she loves numbers, like she has a lot of talent with numbers. And she wants to enter into a marriage of convenience. It is her idea. She has no interest in intimacy. She has no interest in forming any type of connection. And then we're introduced to our other main character, who is this doctor. He's very hesitant at first, but eventually he agrees. They get married. She moves to this house. And then things start to get a little wacky from there. From the vibe point of view, I am liking this book, but what I think is bothering me is more the setup. Our main character was the one who had this marriage of convenience idea. She didn't want romance, but then immediately is like suspicious, like feeling betrayed by her husband's secrets. Like, my girl, you literally were like, great, I don't want to go to your family home. So when he told you that he never wants to spend the night with you, you were like, plus. But now, because you guys kind of have crushes on each other immediately, what happened to this marriage of convenience situation? You're like, why are you keeping secrets from me? Hello, lady. It wasn't in the contract. But I don't know. All that is, so it's basically, I'm struggling with the fact that like the main character's motivations don't seem to make sense to me, but the concept is still really interesting. But because I'm not so sure of our main character's motivations, it's kind of like pulling me out of the story. I'm gonna keep going though. I feel like it's gonna get darker, and I'm interested in like what's going on. It has a lot of inspirations. Like, I'm definitely getting some like Jane Eyre things. Like, there's a lot, but I think there is hope, but we will see. I'm hoping that this sort of dissonance I'm feeling with the main character fixes itself, but I'm a little concerned it won't. Because I feel like it's either something as a reader that doesn't bother you and you can just move past and enjoy the story, or like is happening to me, it's like at the forefront of my brain and I'm like, but this doesn't make sense to me and I can't like let it go, you know? And it's not even, I'm not even saying like if you can let it go, I don't think this would be a bad experience, but it's like one or the other, you know what I mean? But anyway, just vibing. I'm gonna watch more football. Gonna make some cookies, and then I'll do a final reading update for this vlog because I have 3 books I need to chat about and wrap this whole situation up. Hi, let's wrap up this vlog. So just to keep things easy and easy to follow, I am gonna go from the beginning to the end. So obviously I started out this vlog with only needing to read 50 pages of The Daughter of Dr. Moreau, which I did, and I really enjoyed this book. This was probably my favorite book of the vlog. All of the books were very vibey in their own ways, but Sofia Moreno Garcia's writing just really sings to me, and all in all, I felt this book was maybe not perfect, but I really liked all acts of it. So this would probably, as I said, be my favorite. From there, I picked up The Wolf and the Woodsman by Ava Reid. I had very high expectations for this book. As I've kind of been saying, I found the first half to be excellent. I love the writing style. I just felt the second half was a little too underdeveloped for the complex themes the author was trying to include and explore. I just wish there was more time spent and more pages spent kind of giving all of those areas justice, if that makes sense. I still really enjoyed the overall vibe of this, the writing and everything, as I said, so I'll be sure to be checking out more books by Ava Reid. And then from there, I picked up The Death of Jane Lawrence by Caitlin Sterling. Another book I love the vibes, like gothic horror haunted house vibes. I ended up reading 150 pages of this, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna DNF or not. It's just hard because there's a very large element of insta love in this, and it's just hard for me to overcome and look past. So the motivations of the main character, no matter how creepy the setting is, like, just don't make sense to me. Like, I don't understand why she's sticking around. I don't understand why she's choosing to get involved in all this dark occult stuff for a man she barely knows, you know? So even though I like the setting and the vibe and just the genre choice, this book just isn't totally landing for me personally. That being said though, if you think you might like this, I still kind of recommend checking it out because I do feel like it could still definitely work for you. That being said, I did read over 650 pages over the past week, which I am really pleased with. So I'm gonna take that as a win. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you soon with another one soon. Goodbye.